Okay, so I decided I'm going to make a Crusader Kings III tutorial. Why did I decide it? It's complicated, but I decided it. So, well, this is the game map. It is quite big. Not the entire world, obviously, but a good chunk of Asia, Europe, Africa. I have started a game as Dorama, who is, at the moment, a small ruler in Hausaland. The map is divided into a bunch of empires, which are divided into kingdoms, which are divided into duchies, which are divided into counties. You can have lands of any of these titles. And if you hold the official title, it doesn't even mean you have to have the actual land. In practice, we have two counties, and the land we officially control is those two counties. So, that's the basic structure of the game out of the way, but what about what our character is like? Dorama has 3 personality traits. She's just, she's honest, and she's trusting. So, relatively decent person, especially considering this game. She is trained in diplomacy. She is a mystic, which means she's basically a wise person. And she has a special perk from the skill trees. Now this brings us skills. For 6 main skills, but really 5 that matter. Diplomacy. That is what you will need if you are actually, being nice to people. That actually exists in this game. There's also intrigue over here, which is if you're being a jerk to everyone. If you are either making people scared of you or giving people reasons to be scared of you, that is what you use intrigue for. Martial. Martial is military stuff. If you want to be good at war, martial is a skill you need. Stewardship. Development and money. It's basically that simple. It's basically development and money. And learning. Literally just anything you learn. Religion, technology, health. It's all learning. Or even getting good at other stuff in the game. Learning. And then there's prowess, which is just how well you fight. It's not as big a deal as the others. Now, I was talking about skill trees before. Skill trees are how she got this. Or how you'd normally get it. If you click... Not even that. If you also click here, there's 5 skill trees for the 5 important... There's 5 skill trees for the 5 more important skills in the game. Nothing for prowess. Prowess kind of ties into martial. Since she's educated in diplomacy, she gets a bonus to diplomacy stuff. And, oh, she already has some perks from that. So we could choose one of these. And she's getting more perks from that now, which we can unlock over time. Now, there are many ways to interact with other characters in the game. If we click this, since it is our husband who controls that, and we right-click, it's hard to right-click with a touchpad. It is... Okay, there. I right-clicked with a touchpad. We can do a lot. We can declare... Okay, it would be a bad idea to declare war, because he's our ally, but we could declare war. We could do a lot of personal schemes. We could, there's hostile schemes. This is a very ethical game, not. We could swear fealty to him, which makes us their vassal. I have debug mode on, so there's a bunch of debug interactions. I'm just gonna turn that off so it doesn't get confusing. Okay. No more debug interactions. Why is it so hard to right-click with a touchpad? See, okay. But there's more personal schemes here, more general diplomacy stuff here. But let's first of all look at our council, since the council has people who will... The council has people who are doing jobs for us, and Why is literally... This person has 6 learning, this person has 4 diplomacy. Everyone's skill at their particular thing determines how good they are at their job. Currently, everyone is terrible, so we'd click this to replace them. And this person is better at their job. They have some traits that are not ideal for a spy master, but I'll ignore that for now. Now we actually have a competent spy master who will actually be good at, well, defending us from murders, helping schemes, stuff like that. We could replace the steward as well with someone who's actually competent. The chancellor... Oh, that switches the chancellor of a marshal, since that person was already marshal. But marshal, we don't have any good options for a marshal, so we're just gonna leave this. And for the priest, essentially, there's no really good options. And now we have a more competent council to help us gain passive bonuses, like currently our steward is sent on collecting taxes, so we'll get more money. Although you're usually going to want them developing your main county, your capital. But anyway, with that done, we should look at our military. Our military has a bunch of levies, which are just untrained soldiers that aren't very good. We have some men-at-arms of different types. They're better, and they counter each other depending on what type of men-at-arms they are. And we got our champions, or knights, or depends on what culture you are. Knights are like the best soldiers in the game, but you have very few of them. How good they are depends on their prowess, which is one of the only things that prowess actually matters for in this game. Which is why you want other people to have good prowess. So what do we use this military for? Well, we can declare war on this neighboring ruler. He's very weak, as you can see here. The large blue bar means we're much stronger than him, so we're gonna just conquer a county and unpause the game. Raise our armies with that button. Right-click here. First try. I'm gonna increase the speed, which you do by clicking this. And now, oh, see, there's random events that come up in the game too. This is not a random one, since it happens in the beginning of the game for this particular ruler all the time, but... Well, you could pause the game and read this here. It's basically, when we die, who is going to be our successor. We could... So if we choose this, this gives us female preference law, and if we choose this, well, our current son becomes our heir, and we stay at, if we look here, we have equal laws, or we could do this, which, well, keeps us in our husband's dynasty, which is actually dumb. The thing is, when you die, you are going to play as your player heir, which is the guy who inherits your titles that is from your dynasty. But if you have someone inheriting some of your titles that's from a different dynasty, like our son here, well, that's not good. You're going to actually lose those titles since you can't play as them. So what we could do is choose this to get him in our dynasty, since this is a special event, and that would solve the issue. Or we could choose this because it disinherits him, means he doesn't get a land anyway. Let's do that, because female preference means we only have half of the heirs to split our land between, and we don't want our land to split up. There's numerous ways to prevent that from happening. Another event, one of our knights, or champions, has been wounded. Badly wounded, apparently. It's infected. Oh well. There's notifications up here. And as you can see, our soldiers are sieging the enemy quite well. Which brings me to another point. Technology. Military, is, as well as a bunch of other stuff, is affected by technology, which, well, innovations it's called. We're going to pause the game right now because we just basically won the war. Basically, you research stuff with your culture. Different cultures, different innovations, and you research innovations for your culture. The more innovations you have, the stronger you are, because, well, this all does different good stuff, and it's all good. And you could also diverge your culture, reform different traditions of your culture, or you could, if you have a Royal Court expansion, which I'm not really going to go over, you could form hybrid cultures as well. But that's like a whole facet of the game. We're going to actually sign a peace treaty that gives us his territory now. Yay! We're bigger now! Now, there's another thing I want to go over in this game. Faith. There's different religious groups which have different religions in them, which have different faiths in them. This is our faith. And different faiths, and you can make your own, by the way. Like, this would reform it, which is essentially making our own. If this was an organized faith instead of unreformed, then we could just create our own without needing different holy sites. Reforming needs holy sites. That's basically the difference. But, yeah. Different faiths have different effects. Like, this makes our mystic trait virtuous, which gives us more piety. Piety is up here. And there's different rules in the faith. Like, witchcraft is good here. It's not good in other faiths. Aside from piety being up here, which you use to create faiths, as well as declare certain wars and other stuff, there's also prestige, which is used for other wars, among other things. And gold, which we get gold from our... We get both gold and prestige from the territory we have. Gold is used to afford men... Okay. Gold is used to afford men-at-arms if you have a feudal government. If we click the governments here, we're actually tribal, so we afford men-at-arms using prestige instead, but what we still use gold for is buildings. Like, if we click here, we could use gold and some prestige, since we're still tribal, to build a building. And there's also renown. Renown is generated by every different member of a dynasty. Our dynasty is quite small right now, so we're not getting much, but what renown will do is allow you to unlock different legacies, and they do cool stuff like celebrating other cultures, or selecting inherited selecting inherited genetic traits to become more common in a dynasty. Some of these are actually pretty good. Yes, this game essentially encourages eugenics. No, don't ask me why. Other than it's a meme by now. So yeah, there's a number of ways to expand. You could, as we just did, conquer. You could also, you know what, you don't even have to take more territory to become stronger. There's buildings that can do really good stuff and make you much stronger on their own. And there's also the option of making intelligent marriages and taking out anyone in your way so that your heir inherits other people's stuff before they inherit yours, or after they do. Doesn't really matter. You could also offer vassalization, like, we're a count, so we can't really do this yet, but if there was someone with one lower rank there. Remember when I showed you the empires, kingdoms, duchies, and counties, like with different levels of titles there are? If we saw someone with one level smaller, like one level less high up on that list than we are, we could offer them vassalization as a diplomatic interaction. It's not showing up because we're a count. There's literally no one below us who's independent. So that basically sums everything up. This lets you hire courtiers. They're pretty useful. They do different stuff. You can do schemes. That's mainly done for the diplomacy thing. Factions are basically your vassals who hate you for some reason, or if they don't hate you, or if they don't hate you, just want something out of you. You can join them against your liege if you have one, but your vassals can join them against you, so they're kind of difficult to deal with sometimes. And then there's decisions, which let us do different stuff. And that basically explains the game. It is a complex game, but it is not too hard to get the hang of if you... It is not too hard to get the hang of if you put enough time into it. You can do some pretty interesting things in this game. Okay! And there's another notification. Low control. That's something I didn't explain, but control basically means control along with development, which we have a steward on, as we mentioned before. Development and control are like two things that give you more money and levies from your counties. So it's worth keeping those in mind. Okay. That sums it up. I feel like this was a disaster, but let's see how it goes.